we are going to learn about the record company that was founded in prison. It's a very inspiring story, and we will hopefully learn about a few more other things that you are here to tell us. The story starts with Judah Armani here, disguised as a math teacher, I think. And, yeah, exactly. And continues to this day, changing the lives of inmates all over UK. So, let's welcome him on stage.
Thank you very much. I am very honoured to be here. So thank you, Bjorn, for inviting me. I am a professor of design at Royal College of Art, Tsushima in Tokyo, Elisava in Barcelona, and KISS, the Cologne International School of Design. That's what I do half the time. The other half of the time, I make things, usually enterprises, social enterprises, with people in challenging situations. I'm drawn to challenging situations. I'm drawn to dark situations, partly because I grew up in dark situations, so it allows me to see in the dark, which I quite like. So I work in decades. I like sticking around. So I've spent 10 years working in homelessness, 10 years in the criminal justice system, and now I've started a year and a half working in adult social care, which means I work a lot, not just with the people in challenging circumstances, but local government and central government as well, and sometimes businesses too. I'm going to share with you, hopefully, something that's going to be useful, depending on the sphere and the field that you're involved in. It should be something you could be able to take away if you're involved in setting up social enterprises, or you run one, or maybe you come from the public sector. And we can talk a little bit about co-creation, co-design, co-production. They're three very different things that have three very different stakeholders and three very different outcomes. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction into some of the projects. Then I want to talk about two insights that hopefully can be of use to you. Oh, thank you. Okay. So, InHouse Records, it's an education program that I set up with 20 prisoners in a UK jail. Education was a problem. Many of the guys that were not attending education ended up repeating offences and going back to prison. The UK has a reoffending rate of 64%. So together with a bunch of guys who weren't engaging in education, we created something that was a bit more meaningful. We looked at aspiration. And we wrapped in what then became a record label that exists on the outside. We distribute and publish through Sony. There are lots of these, there's lots of elements of this that aren't important, but what is important is that it met a need for the prison. And because it met a need, then they paid for it. And now we're in half the prisons in the UK and 3 correctional facilities in the US. The business turns over maybe just under $500,000 a year, but we have 20-odd staff on payroll, half of whom used to be learners in prison, and then when they've come home, they're now teaching this. We have a reoffending rate of less than 1% of what we're doing. We've been going for almost 7 years. A magazine co-created with guys in prison and out of prison that eventually now is being sold to many different prisons. So we're moving into this idea of, look, 20 years ago we were all consumers, consuming news, consuming information. Now we're all producers, whether that's Insta or TikTok or whatever we do, we're producers and consumers. So this narrative also needs to be reflective in how we are able to do things. And enterprises need to also be at a similar parallel to how society moves, to be producers and consumers of things. So the magazine has become a successful engagement project, social enterprise, increases literacy by astronomical rates. A co-designed distance learning program that's neurodiverse informed. 98% of people in UK prisons are neurodiverse. and this has been recommissioned by the digital agency. So now 86,000 people, who's the population of the UK prison, are able to access digital learning that is neurodiverse informed. So it means we look at colour, we look at font, we look at narrative, we look at ways of being able to break down tasks. And then the most latest of projects that's become now an enterprise, and we've got 5 contracts, is an approach to education that moves us out of the classroom and onto the football pitch. So Crossbar blends maths and English with playing football and terminology that is understood. This engages with alpha males that don't want to go into classrooms, don't want to talk about weak stuff, but don't mind talking about football. And actually through football we can also talk about entrepreneurism and business, because football is both competitive and collaborative at the same time. So I'm going to be dipping into these few things as I talk about these 2 insights. The first insight is repair. Look, social innovation, the scaling up of which is problematic. It's problematic because we don't make products like businesses do. Products can be scaled. There are tolerances. Materials have tolerances, and we can scale products. Social enterprises, it's difficult because our material is society. And scaling it isn't always clear how that happens. Because complexity is a factor of society. Complexity is unpredictable and to some degree uncontrollable. So as we look at trying to scale, or dare I say grow, initiatives of change that involve society, we need to think about how we can explore some of these factors. And we can talk about these factors maybe later when we have a Q&A. Repair is a way, or the rituals of repair are a way where we can explore how we can overcome some of the challenges of complexity. The first kind of repair is restoration. Many of you might be familiar with a restorer, someone who restores furniture or artwork. They use the same materials that were used in the creation of the very thing. Their hand is invisible. Their work becomes invisible. You cannot tell whether something has been restored or not if the quality of the restorer is very good. Restoration is a way of repair. A second approach to repair is to remedy. When we remedy something, we're bringing in a new material. Kintsugi brings in gold. The new banks in the UK bring in tech. They bolt on a new material, but the form and the function still remains the same. A third kind of repair is to reconfigure, where we smash everything up. We take the vase, we smash it up, and we make it into a fruit bowl. Reconfiguring is where we bring in new materials, but we also change things around. Why am I telling you this? Because social enterprises don't need to choose which kind of repair they are. They kind of need to be all of it. The only reason the prisons or the government pay us to deliver education in prison is because they believe we're restoring it. They believe that the work we're doing is continuing their work of delivering education. They don't see any difference in how we've changed it. The reason the guys are involved is because we reconfigured it all, and they've been involved in that reconfiguration. And the reason it works on the outside of society is because we've remedied it with probation. So perhaps worth thinking about as you may go forward, is A, what kind of repair do you feel that your initiative or your aspirational initiative, or if you're in the public sector, what kind of repair do you feel are the challenges that you are seeing and people are responding to, and what is missing? usually, in my limited experience, and in the spirit of transparency, I might be wrong about everything I'm saying, right? So please feel free to ignore everything I'm saying if it doesn't land with you. And if it does, brilliant. If not, forget it. But usually, I've found in my experience that social enterprises need to be Trojan horses. They need to involve different stakeholders. And the only way we can involve different stakeholders is if they all see what they want to see. Where one sees repair as restoration, another sees it as reconfiguration. That's the first insight. And we can see in InHouse we've reconfigured because we never worked in a classroom. We always would take warehouses within prisons. We would operate in where people would do laundry. We would turn that into a studio. We reconfigured the social and physical architecture. And of course, Crossbar turns the classroom into a football pitch. The second insight I wanted to share is language. All things end. This talk is going to end very soon. And this conference will end, and Bjorn can celebrate. This week will end, this month will end. Our lives will end. We are not very good at talking about endings. Endings take us to the very edge of our words. We have no words. We often can't speak about endings. This is problematic if we want to design something new. Usually what happens is when confronted with endings, we explore new without understanding endings. New clothes, new car, new job, new wife, new life, a new beginning, new. New means we don't need to think about endings. Usually, when we're looking at trying to organize better ways of doing society, we have to start by becoming literate in the language of endings. Understanding why this thing that we are so passionate about to try and restore, why it's broken in the first place. Often that means we're not creating a new thing at all. Often when we understand endings, we're able to create better transitions. Transitioning into what? Who knows? Who cares? But transitioning into a better way of organising society. We use words, an understanding of words, and poetry, Carl. I encourage you to get back into that. To legitimise language. So that guys are able to express something that is very difficult for them, which is narrative. We all have narrative. Narrative is the thing of us that we want to share with others. It is not our whole life. It is part of what we want to share with people. If you're in challenging circumstances, often you become stigmatized. Often you don't get to choose your narrative. It is chosen for you. And therefore, we lack agency and creativity to be able to see a different future. We cannot imagine a better possibility. Part of understanding the language of endings is also to be able to share creativity and agency, to be able to imagine a better future, not just individually for the people drawing down on the services of social enterprise, but for the enterprise itself. And this is important because social enterprises can't go head to head with enterprises, because we'd lose every time. Because we're not just trading in money, we're trading in different things. And so we need to be able to measure and qualify those things. so that we're not going head to head, because that game is rigged. That's difficult to win. When we bring value, when we understand the language of endings, when we understand narrative, when we're able to bring people together, we see change. Change in the criminal justice system. Change in how we deliver care. Where am I for time? Okay, I want to show you a film. It's the first song we recorded in prison. Please don't film it, because I captured it illegally in prison. The reason I want to show it to you is because it is 4 or 5 guys understanding, making sense of their narrative. No longer did they feel like they needed to be offenders or ex-offenders. They were beginning to see a different opportunity going forward. These are guys that society had given up on. Everyone you'll see in the film is now home for many years. They haven't gone back to prison. Everyone you will see in the film has only learned to play the instruments maybe after a month or 2. But we use creativity as a way of being able to understand narrative. And when we can understand narrative, we can change. This isn't about saying we should have music in everything. No. It's about saying we need to understand complexity. We need to understand the different rituals of repair. We need to understand the language of endings. We need to reduce the scale so we're dealing with small numbers. We can test and prove outcomes, and then we can grow.